I'm James McComb, reporting live from home in my bathrobe and slippers. Tonight, we're talking Dunkin' Polar Peppermint Coffee. Gene's here with the latest. Gene, do you copy?
The home with Dunkin' is where you want to be.
This year, Santa's bringing the power of Energizer into his workshop.
Whoa, the Energizer Bunny's got so much power.
Wait, he's powered up all the toys. I think that means we're done for the year.
I love this bunny.
He's the hardest working helper the North Pole has ever seen. And he wants all your gifts to have the power of the #1 longest lasting AA battery. So this holiday season, stock up on Santa's and the elves' favorite battery, Energizer Ultimate Lithium.
Being a marketer's no sweat. You just have to manage dozens of channels, launch hundreds of campaigns, score thousands of leads, and okay, fine, it's a lot of sweat. Unless you have HubSpot's AI-powered marketing tools to help you do all that and more. Get started at HubSpot.com/marketers.
I think when you get to our age, you have to really think carefully about how you want to spend your time, because time becomes even more precious, you know.
Hello, and welcome to a new episode of Live Through That. I'm your host, Mike Hipple, and on this podcast, we'll dig a little deeper into a pivotal moment into the lives of some of my favorite artists from the 80s and 90s. And we're back this week with part 2 of my conversation with Colin Moulding of XTC, one of my all-time favorite bands. We start our conversation here with the breakup of the band in 2006 and what Colin did after that.
Well, it's like a divorce, isn't it? I mean, what now, you know? I had Billy Sherwood ring me up not so long afterwards for me to sing sessions and stuff, so that's what I did for a good 5 years. Billy Sherwood is the bass player in Yes, since Chris Squire's demise. So yeah, and he was in-house producer at Cleopatra Records. So he said, I like the sound of your voice, Colin. Do you want to sing on some prog rock? So I thought, well, why not, you know? So I did that for a number of years, just play sessions, you know. Until Terry came to these shores. Our old drummer, Terry Chambers, you know. He arrived back in the country. Took us all by surprise, I think. So yeah, he was getting divorced and was coming back to live in England. We went out on a drunken spree. Yeah, so by that time I'd already started making an EP. This was the Great Aspirations EP, which came out in 2017. And I'd started making this little record, and so I sort of popped the question, you know, I wonder whether he would. And so I said, you know, do you fancy joining me on this record? We could call ourselves something, you know, and it might give a bit of brevity to it, you know. So, yeah, so that's what happened. He lent a hand, and we became TC and I.
TC and I released that EP, Great Aspirations, in 2017, and it featured the fantastic single Scatter Me.
Scatter me far and wide, up in the hills where we walked. Although the wind may blow cruelly, scatter me, my one and only. Scatter me where we lived, under your favorite rose.
That EP proved to be a one-time thing.
You see, Terry's whole thing was kind of touring, and it really wasn't my bag. I've become very conditioned to working in the studio, and to the exclusion of playing gigs, really. we did play some gigs as TC and I. We played half a dozen shows around locally. But he wanted to expand on that and, basically carry on where we left off with XTC in '82, really. I said, well, I really wouldn't like to do that, Terry. So we had different agendas, really. I said, well, then I'm going to knock it on the head, if that's what you want to do, because I didn't want any resentment building up, so I thought it was a good idea to just finish it there, really.
Terry Chambers has been touring as EXTC, performing XTC songs to audiences around the globe. I was curious how Colin felt about that.
Well, it's there for the taking, that's what you want to do. I think when you get to our age, you have to really think carefully about how you want to spend your time, because time becomes even more precious, And as much as I love our American cousins, I don't really want to be rattling around in a van, sort of making our next destination 8 hours down the road. So, yeah, it wasn't my bag, really. But good luck to him, That's what he wants to do. That's fine by me.
XTC famously stopped touring back in the 80s, and given what Colin just said about touring these days, I wondered how Colin felt about Andy Partridge's decision to stop touring.
No, I was a touring animal back then. We'd had several years, 5, 6, 7 years of constant touring, And I just felt that's what you had to do. You had to promote your record, and you had to go out on tour to promote it, So when Andy decided that he really couldn't hack it and didn't want to do it again, it was, well, he got ill, he was ill. He was seeing people and stuff, stage fright, I suppose. Kept on feeling sick every time we were getting ready to do a show, or this kind of thing. Psychosomatic symptoms, I suppose. But I just thought that touring is what bands did, it was a necessary thing. But of course my kids were fairly young at the time, so when we finished touring it was a kind of, hey, I'm going to see my kids, I'm going to see them grow up, in a way it was a relief for me. The other two probably not so, they were kind of footloose and fancy free and wanted to tour the world, but I had kids, so it was a kind of a bit of a blessing for me.
Colin Moulding released his first ever solo recording back in 2021. I wanted to know how that song came about.
It was something that happened during lockdown, really. We were locked down in 2020, as you know. And this song popped out, So I thought, well, I'll do that then, Well, you can't really do much. You get on with something. So, so it was a good thing to do. Lots of vocals to do, So, I did it in here, and it was good because I was playing everything, and, that was novel, and singing everything, and so there's loads and loads of vocals to do, harmonies and stuff. So, it was a good exercise during lockdown, Well, I got noodling on the keyboard. Sounded a bit like Algar's Nimrod. I thought, it's kind of emotive chords, And I got this book of pocket positives by my bedside, and it's just quotes from various people, Roosevelt, Churchill, all these people about things. And there was one by E. Cummings. I don't know if you know this fella. I don't know whether he's English or whether he's American. I think he might be American. And there was some sort of quip in there about in a world that's trying to make you like everybody else means to fight the hardest battle, to your individuality, basically. And I thought, that's a very noble kind of sentiment. I wonder if I could, wire the two together with these Algar chords, And there was a marriage there, and I thought, once you've got the marriage, you can just, carry out the crossword puzzle then. You can fit bits in and stuff, but you need that kind of marriage of sentiment with the words and the music, Once you get the marriage there, then you can build, So that's what happened with that song, really. There were two camps. There was the music and there was these words, To
thine own self, you must be true and sing your own fair song. Don't leave it too long. The hardest battle you can fight is just to be yourself. Face the dragon on a hilltop shelf and you'll see. Yeah, that's a lonely place to...
I asked if there were any other pivotal moments that he felt we hadn't necessarily covered, and he brought up XTC's side project, the Dukes of Stratosphere, which released two records, one in 1985 and the other in 1987.
Well, they say, the rumour has it that the Dukes record, the first Dukes record, or was it the second, I'm not sure, outsold the current XTC album of the time, I think, which was Big Express, The Big Express. So that was the album before Skylarking. So it was around the time we did the first Dukes record. And it's outsold it. These things you've got to take with a pinch of salt, I think. But it did well. So it's worth a mention. The fact that it was, it became as popular, if not more so, than an XTC record, And, but I think more importantly, it was the spirit in which it was done. In a way, it had elements of Skylarking because Todd was not one for doing more than 2 takes, and the Dukes were pretty much done like that anyway. We just didn't have the time nor the money to actually be more self-indulgent. So we skipped over a lot of stuff and just got on with it. And so maybe there is some sort of corroboration between the Dukes and Skylarking, and that's why I think it's, it's of some importance.
And that's it for part 2 of my talk with Colin. I really want to thank him for his time. Like I said last time, it truly was an honor. And I'll post some links in the show notes as to where you can purchase Colin's solo record as well as the TC&I material. And a quick reminder that you can also buy my book on 80s musicians and where they are today, 80s Redux, and its sequel, Live Through That, on 90s artists, wherever you buy your books. And if you like this show, please leave us a review where you're listening. It always helps others find us. And of course, subscribe so that you'll know when the latest episode comes out. You can also follow me on Threads at Mike Hipple and Facebook at Mike Hipple Photo, all one word. Thanks for listening.